welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Theodore Henry. Did you know that personal development is a major time saver? The better you become, the less time it takes you to achieve your goals. Come, we have another stimulating show, starting with the news.
All motorists, pedestrians, private and public operators, motorcyclists, it is important for us to drive defensively. Driving defensively saves lives, and we know that lives are most important to each and every one of us. It is important also to be trained and certified as a defensive driver, for it increases the likelihood that you'll prevent collisions on our roadways.
Good day, I am Adrian at Kingston and this is your JIS News for Monday, September 18, 2023. Jamaica has received its best credit rating from Standard & Poor's S&P since the entity began rating the country's sovereign debt in 1999. On September 13, the global rating agency upgraded Jamaica's long-term foreign and local currency issuer default from a B+ to BB- and assigned a stable outlook. S&P projects that Jamaica's debt-to-GDP ratio will continue to decline with modest fiscal surpluses over the medium term. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the score reflects the strong fiscal policy and economic development taking place.
Jamaica is now just 3 notches below investment grade. Achieving an investment grade rating will be a game changer for Jamaica and investors' perception of the riskiness of doing business in Jamaica and the cost of capital to Jamaica.
The benefit of the credit rating upgrade will allow the government to negotiate better financing terms and have more funds to spend on critical areas. The global rating agency stated that while the government's interest burden remains high, it expects that this will fall to 17.5% of government revenues within the next fiscal year and to less than 15% by 2026. S&P also foresees continued economic growth to support external balances over the next 4 years. Mr. Holness says the favorable rating is a major achievement for the country following the economic impact of COVID-19. In other news, plans are being finalized for the build-out of the Williamsfield-Manchester to Hodges St. Elizabeth leg of the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project, SHIP. The expansion is expected to shorten the distance to Negril Westmoreland with the building of the Spurtree Hill bypass. Prime Minister Andrew Holness gave the update last week as he opened the Maypen to Williamsfield leg of the highway.
We have started planning this. As you can see, it is usually about 5 years from plan to cutting the ribbon. I'm going to try and short that period as much as we can. Because as we build more infrastructure, especially taking on these large infrastructure, we are also building the management capacity for these infrastructures.
Other road infrastructure development projects are expected to come on stream. They include the lengthening of the North-South Highway by 30 kilometers to end near Trelawney and the build-out of the Caymanas Highway interchange to connect motorists using the East-West and North-South highways.
We have started negotiations on that, and that will ease significantly the traffic flow in that area.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Holness says the level of infrastructure development taking place requires qualified human capital in science, technology, engineering and math STEM. He indicates that of the 48 engineers employed on the Maypen to Williamsfield project, 18 were Jamaicans, which reflects a shortage of such skilled workers. According to Mr. Holness, the government is paying serious attention to improving the education system with the implementation of STEM academies.
It is not that the project is structured to employ non-Jamaican engineers. If we had them, we would employ them. we do not have enough engineers. But our education must move to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It is an imperative if Jamaica's infrastructure development is to continue and be indigenously driven by local talents and skills. It is an imperative.
Jamaicans made up 603 of the 754 persons employed on the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project. Kingston's Mayor, Delroy Williams, says that several sponsors have expressed interest in covering the cost to construct seating areas at bus bays in and around downtown Kingston. Mayor Williams made the announcement at a recent sitting of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation KSAMC. He said the project is already underway in South Parade.
So the project build-out will include, as we build out the project, both the South and the North Parade. And I would say that we have to look at the other major transport terminus areas where a large number of persons wait for public transportation.
Mayor Williams also shared how the project will be maintained.
The municipality will have to cover the maintenance of it. We are working out with the Transport Authority how that is done, so hopefully we can come to something that is easier on the council. But it's not something that we should allow to continue.
And finally, the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, is looking to establish refrigerant recovery and recycling centers in Jamaica. Refrigerants are substances used in mechanisms designed to maintain cold temperatures. These include refrigerators, freezers, as well as home and motor vehicle air conditioning systems. Manager for the National Ozone Unit at NEPA, Vivian Blake, says instead of importing new refrigerant, it's best to clean and continue using the one already being used to prevent ozone depleting chemical consumption. The announcement came as Jamaica observed International Day of Preserving the Ozone Layer on Saturday under the theme Montreal Protocol, Fixing the Ozone Layer and Reducing Climate Change. According to NEPA, the centres will be established in several parishes and available to technicians and other users in the refrigerant and air conditioning sector. Jamaica is a signatory to the Montreal Protocol, an international treaty aimed at protecting the ozone layer by phasing out the production of numerous substances that cause the element's depletion. Mr. Blake notes that Jamaica is far advanced in gradually eliminating these substances. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you so much for watching.
How much do you know about herbs and their medicinal purposes? Well, this next feature will either jog your memory or educate you on local plants and their medicinal uses.
Necessity is the mother of invention, and we had to find a way to survive. And so for the plants, the natural gift of the Creator, we could rely on it to guide us into what we needed to do. I didn't know about Fenzik and your pharmaceutical things. I know about bush. So if I had a headache, I knew as a child that I should use the leaves of 3 mackerel bush and a piece of cloth and tie it on my head, and the pain would go.
The use of herbs as medicine. While this age-old practice has been overlooked by many, the Institute of Jamaica saw it fitting to mount an exhibition on medicinal plants of Jamaica and their uses, bringing to the present the medicinal habits used in the past.
So at least 330 plants have been found growing in Jamaica, have been identified as having medicinal value. Of that 334, at least 193 have been assessed for their biochemical activities, and 23 of those are actually endemic plants.
Not every plant, though in its natural form is good, is accessible to everybody. And knowing the information about the plant and wanting to get that into the hands of the people, some of our scientists have begun to study extensively some of these plants to see how they can be formulated in such a way so that they can be packaged and be accessible to the public.
You just don't wake up and say, Eureka, I have found it. They would have learned from the people in the community what plants were used for what purpose. So you know all those things in your childhood because they were continually using the plants of nature to assist in what they were doing.
Ever since I was a child, my mom always said me go break a piece of bush to make tea if the tea bag run out. But what was I getting out of it? I had no clue. And sometimes people say it worked, some other people say it didn't work. So that's why I really did the research to find out if these plants actually work. So we started only making butterbrush, which is also known as Callistemon viminalis. And then we broadened and we focused on lemongrass. We focused on most of the herbs that are used by native Jamaicans to cure different ailments.
In addition to the showcase, students from the Dunrobin, Chetola Park, and the Rollington Town primary schools were scientists for a day as they participated in one of the institution's monthly and afternoon with a scientist sessions. Modeled around the Ministry of Education's academic calendar, the mandate of the program is to expose students to and encourage an appreciation for different disciplines of science through fun-filled scientific activities.
I've been promoting entrepreneurship, especially in the medicinal plant industry. So one of the things I do is to give back. So I volunteer even at my children's school. We have an entrepreneurial club where I teach them to make different products from plants.
I learned that they can use herbs to make soap. It was very exciting because I got to see what dangerous chemicals they use in it and how is it correct to go on the skin.
First, we had to put some coconut oil in like a metal cup. Then we had to put shea butter in it and melt it. And then we put it in sodium hydroxide. And it was very, very, very hot. I spilled it a couple times, but it was okay, just a little cleanup. And it began to get thick, so I was like, what should I do now? And she was like, just mix it, it's normal. And then we got to put what we want in there. I put charcoal in there, and then I made a swirl in the mold. It was a very good experience.
I'm so happy our students were able to participate in the activity held here at the Institute, where they learn more about medicinal plants. I believe it's very important for them to know that the plants that are found right there in their backyards can be used for healing of ailments that they'll have, the common cold, whatever the ailment may be.
This is what I would like to engage the people in. Go back to their communities and learn how people lived. A generation which came out of slavery could neither read nor write, and yet they were able to contain themselves and to live. We want the students to have some respect for the heritage of this country because it is going to guide you to the future.
look out for us when we're crossing the road.
Some young adults who've recently graduated from various institutions are now actively seeking gainful employment. This experience is no different for persons with disabilities. And with the new Disabilities Act, their chances of being hired has increased significantly.
Although it's only been a year since the new Disabilities Act came into effect, the law has been ensuring positive changes in the lives of persons with disabilities. This is especially so as it relates to strides being taken to increase the number of disabled people being employed. Since the Act, local companies have assisted in training young people with disabilities on how to write resumes and prepare for work. Executive Director of the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, Dr. Christine Hendricks, says more companies have become proactive.
We have seen definite effort on the part of companies in terms of whether retrofitting their spaces, writing or drafting inclusive policies to include persons with disabilities, or indicating that they would require training for their staff, and engaging us at the JCPD to help to facilitate the provision of materials, so that they can make that training available to their staff.
But training is not the only area where decisive action is being taken. The new act has piqued individuals and companies' interests regarding matters affecting persons with disabilities. Dr. Hendricks says local companies have expressed worry that disabled persons are not applying for positions at their companies. She says the council is helping to change that.
We did indicate to them the availability of the website of the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, that whenever they have positions to make it available to us, because we have a network of the disability sector that we can share, such information with whenever we get it.
The Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities is also recruiting to assist in the employment of disabled persons. In its first year as a body corporate, the entity is in the process of transitioning to being more independent from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security.
So we too are in the process of recruiting, and we ensure that the disability sector is aware of the positions that are available so that they too can apply, because what better example, to demonstrate than, the council having, the people who have disabilities here in its employ.
One such employee is Angine Garrick, the council's receptionist. With the requisite training and her love of interacting with people, Angine's disability has not stopped her from finding gainful employment. She believes the Act will continue to help other members of the disabled community get employed.
There are a lot of persons out there with disability that need assistance and need finding job placement. So yeah, I definitely think it will.
And what of disabled people who want to be self-employed?
Persons with disabilities do have the option of starting their own business, and there are opportunities as we look at financial inclusion. And again, during Disabilities Awareness Week in December, we did have, along with the Bank of Jamaica and other entities, the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Companies Office of Jamaica, looking at how persons with disabilities are being included in their policies and in their programs to ensure that as they build out financial inclusion, persons with disabilities are not left out.
Dr. Hendricks says the council also empowers individuals with disabilities.
At the JCPD here, we also have programs where persons can apply for and receive grants for economic empowerment for their own business, because you do have persons with disabilities who are into that independence and wanting to become their own bosses, and so they do have that opportunity as well. So that can be counted in the whole employment space.
Mosquitoes will breed in containers that hold water. Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, buckets, and tanks, or cover the water surface with cooking oil. Punch holes in all tins, plastic containers, and boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover old tires or fill with dirt. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs, and dispose of garbage by placing in plastic bags. Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Did you know that too much fat in your diet, especially saturated fats, can raise your cholesterol, which increases the risk of heart disease? Well, to learn more about good and bad fats, let's watch this next feature.
The human brain is 60% fat. Fats provide a storehouse of energy for the body and promote normal cell growth and healthy skin. Fat also acts like a cushion and heat regulator to protect the heart, liver, and other vital organs. And as most people would know, fat adds flavor to our food and helps us feel full longer. It is clear that having fat in our diet is beneficial in many ways, but too much or the wrong kind can be equally harmful. Fat is a source of essential fatty acids which help the body absorb vitamins A, D, and E. There are 3 types. Monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids are both considered good fats. The third, saturated fatty acid, is what we are often encouraged to avoid or lower our intake. So too, trans fat, which is created by a process called hydrogenation that makes the fat harder at room temperature to increase the shelf life.
What is in our foods impact on the quality of our lives?
The World Health Organization recommends that trans fat intake be limited to less than 1% of total energy intake, which translates to less than 2.2 grams per day with a 2,000 calorie diet.
Studies have shown that saturated fat increases the amount of bad cholesterol, or LDL, in the blood and has no effect on the good cholesterol, HDL. Trans fatty acids increase the amount of bad cholesterol in the blood and also reduce the amount of good cholesterol. Diets high in these bad fats are linked to obesity, heart disease, and other cardiovascular-related problems. Trans fat also causes malformation of cell membranes and other cell structures in the body, leading to weak cell walls and abnormal cell function. They are not recognized by enzymes and can cause neural degeneration and diminished brain function. So why then is trans fat used? Well, taste and economics. Trans fat makes food stay fresh on the shelf longer and improves food texture and flavor stability. Based on a 2021 assessment of the fatty acids in commonly consumed foods in Jamaica, our intake is very high.
If you look at confectionery, you see how high the percentages there, and it comes down in several of the other food products. Okay, this is just the percentage that have trans fat. Notice that the canned foods had none at all, or the beverages that we looked at had no trans fat. Okay? But this is just saying whether there was trans fat in the product. What we are even more interested in is which products had high levels of trans fat. In terms of the highest concentrations, more than 2% of fat as trans fat, we see the dairy products, and it goes down like that. And then when we now look at those that had the same products that had high saturated fat along with the trans fat, we see the figures here.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is looking to change this and encourage better food production and consumption practices.
Healthier alternatives can be used that do not affect the taste or the cost of food.
Knowing what is in our food is part of the way forward. It is a lifestyle change to come through education, product reformulation, regulation, food labeling, and monitoring.
The elimination of industrially produced trans fats is part of a comprehensive policy package to prevent diet-related NCDs, which comprises mandatory food labeling, ingredients list, nutrition panels declaring trans fats, interpretive front of package labeling based on nutrient profiles, restrictions on food marketing aimed at children and adolescents, mandatory standards for healthy food served in schools, and limits on sugar content.
It's not just about our resolve to do the right thing to consume what is in our best interest. That in and of itself is a challenge, because we have to now nudge, encourage, motivate, and in some instances legislate, I believe, certain types of actions to encourage better quality of life from a nutrition consumption standpoint. I think it is essential to advocating in the first instance for voluntary compliance as an immediate response.
As consumers, we have the choice of using naturally occurring unhydrogenated vegetable oils such as canola, safflower, sunflower, or olive oil. We can also limit red meat and choose lean cuts. It is also recommended that we steam, boil, or bake foods instead of cooking them in fats or oils. Another approach is to choose low-fat dairy products, poultry, and fish, and purchase processed foods made with unhydrogenated oils rather than partially or hydrogenated vegetable oils or saturated fats. Use soft margarines as a substitute for butter and choose soft margarine over the harder stick forms. Limit consumption of commercially fried foods and baked goods made with shortening or partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. Not only are these high in fat, but it is also likely to be trans fat. And cut back on foods high in dietary cholesterol. Let's eat healthy and live well.
Thank you for being with us today on Jamaica Magazine. Join us again tomorrow for another interesting journey. Of course, you can visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for more news you can use. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.